What is up, guys? In today's video, we are getting the Platinum Trophy in one of the cutest puzzle games I've ever played, and in my opinion, one of the most underrated games on the PlayStation Store at the moment. And that game is... Originally released to the PlayStation 4 in 2020, Kato was developed by Sunhead Games and is a top-down puzzle game where you assume the role of a young girl named Kato. We have a total of 20 trophies to collect in order to get the Platinum, and it is rated at a 1 out of 10 for difficulty, requires one playthrough, and will take approximately 5 hours to complete. The stages for this Platinum are pretty easy, and if you follow along with a guide, you'll get it done in one playthrough and not have to go back through chapter select. However, everything can be completed in chapter select afterwards if you miss anything. So let's get into our Platinum Trophy journey. So the story for Kato begins by explaining to us how we can move pieces of the map, and then this will result in the world itself changing. Kato is flying on a ship with her grandmother, and unfortunately the ship is struck by lightning, and then Kato and her grandmother become separated. Not only do the pair become separated, but the map splits into tiny little pieces and then is lost to the wind. We then wake up on a random island, and here is where we get the tutorial of the game. Basically, our goal is to return to our grandmother, however we have to do this by reorganizing the map in order to allow us to travel around the world. The map can be rearranged in any way that you see fit, however you do need to complete certain puzzles in order to unlock other sections of the map. Most of the time these puzzles are just rearranging the map pieces in order to find another map piece, as you can see on the screen here, or finding certain collectibles. Once you find a new map piece, you can then rearrange all of the other pieces that you have in order to keep progressing. Now, whilst the concept may seem pretty basic, the puzzles in this game are actually quite difficult, and you do need to take some time here in order to figure out where each piece should go. And let's just say on my first few attempts, I did not get this right at all. After unlocking a few more map pieces and expanding our puzzle, we then come across a village, and here we have to help find Cheyenne. Cheyenne's parents are worried about the location of Cheyenne, as she needs to be ready for her boat trip where she is going to leave the island. After rearranging a few more map pieces, we then come across Cheyenne by the lake, however she states that she is not ready to leave. And even though the pair have just met, Kato tells Cheyenne that she has been separated from her family, and so together they are going to leave the island. Cheyenne then gives us our final map piece, and then she says goodbye to all of her family, and here we complete the first chapter of the game and pop our very first trophy. Set sail. Finish chapter 1. Trophy. The pair then sail overnight and then reach a brand new island, and together they decide to go and explore the island. Here we then meet Mo, who is a farmer that has somehow lost all of his sheep. Now we have to round the sheep up and then return them to Mo, however the only way they will find us is if we are using honey fruit. This honey fruit is only located on certain trees throughout the island, and we have to rearrange the map pieces in order to find them and then get the sheep and return them to Mo. After returning all of the sheep to Mo, we then find other inhabitants of the island, and they are very interested in plants. The islanders are looking for a ghost lily, and here is where our next objective comes in, and we have to help them find the ghost lily. However, in order to get the elusive ghost lily to spawn in, we have to conduct a ceremony the night before. When we wake up in the morning, we are told that Ganga, one of the group members, has spotted a ghost lily, and everyone is racing over there to find it. However, after stepping out of the little villa, if you come over here to this plant and just repetitively clap, you will then pop your second trophy of the game. Round of applause. Give a plant your full support. We then rush over to the ghost lily, and in Kato's haste, she then jumps on the lily in order to get it. However, it races away and we fall off the edge of the map. Haughty Kato realist. Finish chapter 2. Kato then wakes up in the middle of a random forest, and then she meets a new character, Lempa. Lempa is the watcher of the forest, and all other messengers are coming here to the forest for the new ritual to pick the new watcher. Lempa wants Kato to help with the ritual, and after the ritual is completed, he will show her the way out of the forest. After completing the ritual, a ghost lily sprouts out of the ground, and then Lempa shows Kato the way out of the forest and back to Cheyenne. Through here we go. New growth. Finish chapter 3. After returning back to the forest, we then come across the story tender, and here we find lots of books on the various islands in the world. Kato also finds a hint that indicates that her grandmother is located in the desert. The story tender, however, does not know how to get to the desert, so instead Kato then decides to return to the villages in the grassland and seek their help. Kato meets back up with Mo, and Mo tells Kato that he knows the way to the desert area, however he can only go there if he is sleepwalking. We have to get some flowers, and then after getting them, Mo falls asleep and we follow him to the desert oasis. Quick learner. Finish chapter 4. After arriving in the desert, we then meet the water seekers, and they guide us across the oasis to the location of their other camp. After meeting the first family here, you can then interact with a cactus over on the left side of the map, and by touching it 3 times in a row, you will then pop your next trophy. Not so sharp. Learn nothing about cactuses. After helping the group find the oasis, we realise that our grandma is actually nowhere near the desert at all. However, a volcano suddenly erupts, and then now Kato is worried that the ash and the clouds may impact her grandmother's flight, and then a mysterious path opens back up to the grasslands. Slacked. Finish chapter 5. We return to the grasslands and arrive back at the story tender's house and reunite with Cheyenne. Together, the girls find a book on the volcano and realise that you can get access to it through the forest, and so off they set to find it. Now, while searching for the hidden path to the volcano, if you come off the main path here and find these 4 birds in a tree and listen to them sing, you will then pop another missable trophy. Quartet. Listen to the quartet of birds. With the help of a few others on the island, we eventually arrive at this old tree, and it is the entrance to the volcano. It isn't as simple as that, however, as when we enter, we then have a whole heap of puzzles to solve to get through this underground section and then eventually make our way to the volcano. Now, this little puzzle sequence was definitely somewhat challenging, as you had absolutely no lights and had to light everything up in order to see the map pieces. But after a little bit, we eventually completed the puzzle and arrived at the volcano. One with the woods. Finish chapter 6. We arrive at the volcano, however it turns out that it is actually a resort, and we are greeted by the Palmer family. The Palmer family need help reopening their resort as a whole heap of stuff has broken, and Kato, being the absolutely amazing human that she is, decides to help out. In return for helping, the Palmer family will give them a whole heap of map pieces so Kato can help find her grandmother. Now, the various tasks are pretty straightforward, but we gradually get everything back into working order, and then we are given another clue as to our grandma's location, and it appears that she is at the iceberg. Stirring things up. Behold the legendary flame tornado. Volcanographer. Finish chapter 7. Let's go. Kato then returns back to the grassland, and she then meets Cheyenne in the story tender's house. Cheyenne is feeling homesick, and together the girls try to find the books in the house that are of Cheyenne's homeland. However, in order to find the books, you need to stack these shelves in the story tender's house in the least amount of moves as possible. For completing this, you then pop your next missable trophy. Towering Intellect. Finish the 3 levels of the Tower of Hanoi in the fewest steps. Here they find clues about Cheyenne's home island, and they decide that they're going to travel back to her island. Together, the pair then set out on a boat across the ocean to get to the island, and when they arrive there, they find out that a fishing competition is occurring, and the winner will get a map to the iceberg. Now, in order to catch the 3 specific fish that you need in order to win the competition, you have to adjust the map to certain positions. However, there is also a missable trophy for getting another collectible here. Strange catch. Find something mysterious in the lake. And of course, we obviously won the competition and then got our next map piece and then headed off towards the iceberg. First Fishtival. Finish chapter 8. We arrive at the iceberg, and this is probably the longest and most confusing level in the game. Instead of having individual map pieces, we have much larger pieces that we have to try to find where they fit together, and it just gets really confusing. However, we meet a few people here on the iceberg, and we need to help them find the legendary 7th iceberg. Now, while looking for the legendary 7th iceberg, you will come across an uncustomized snowman in the field, and each person will have one little piece to help complete the snowman. After putting the final piece on the snowman, you will then pop your next missable trophy. Frosty Friend. Finish Snowman Buddy. We then find the legendary 7th iceberg, and it turns out that there is a chest located on the island, and it just so happens to be full of 6 husky puppies. We then take the puppies back to the home of the iceberg residents, and they promise to look after them, and this completes Chapter 9. Truest Treasure. Finish Chapter 9. After returning the puppies, we then find another clue from Grandma, which says that she will meet us above the clouds. We then return to the story tender in order to try to find some information on where this location above the clouds is. The storyteller believes that the very top of his house may give us a clue on the location. So we have to rearrange the map in order to try to find our way to the top of the house, and while we were doing this, there are several books that you can read on each floor. For reading every single book, you will then pop your next missable trophy. Voracious reader, read all stories in the story chalet. We arrive at the top of the house, and when the story tender opens his curtains, it reveals the big tree on the island. Taking this as a sign, Cheyenne and Kato believe that the tree is the location that Grandma was referring to above the clouds. Together, the girls then arrive at the very top of the tree, and Kato pulls out the map, and we have to connect every single piece of the game together. After completing the map, Kato's grandmother appears from behind the clouds, and this then completes the game. The Little Cartographer. Finish Chapter 10. After being reunited with her grandma, Kato and Cheyenne then introduce her to all of the people that she has met through her travels. And then after all the credits have finished, you then return to the main menu, and here you need to pick the Secrets tab, and this enters you into Grandma's airship and pops your final trophy and then the platinum. Home sweet home, visit the airship, and Master Cartographer. Complete the game 100%. Now, this game took me in total only 3 hours to complete, and to be honest, I absolutely loved it, and the journey itself was so fun. I really enjoy mixing in a couple of these easier indie games and completing them alongside some of my longer games. I just want to say thanks again, guys, for tuning in, and please leave a like and comment down below, and hit the subscribe button if you haven't for more Platinum Trophy videos, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.